So today I'm going to be taking out my dash to attempt to try to put a new heater core in. I don't know how fun or easy this is going to be, but I'm going to be doing it because it's gotten pretty cold and I need some heat. So I've been putting this off all year and really haven't. I mean, I would like to have AC, but it ain't that big a deal. I just roll my windows down, but now that it's getting cold outside, it's like, dang, I need some heat. So I'm taking off this battery if I can get the positive side off and go from there. Alright, so here is the reason why I need a new heater core. One of the nipples on mine broke off a long time ago. It actually happened when I was doing the swap, and I was pulling the motor thinking, I mean, I know I got everything unplugged, why ain't this thing coming out? And I kept cranking down on the hoist, and I finally heard something snap, and I was like, oh dang, wonder what that was. So I look around and look what's hanging from the motor. One of the coolant lines that run to the heater core. So now I have to pull the dash, and from what I've read, it's not too bad, but we'll see. So the first thing I did was start off by removing the armrest, and there's only 4 bolts or 4 screws that you need to take out to do that, and it's 1, 2, and then you open up the armrest, and then 3 and 4 right there. So there, that's out of the way. On to the next step. Now I've just removed the whatever you want to call this little trim, and unplugged the little connectors back there. And one thing that I forgot to mention is when you're pulling off the armrest, before you do that, before you can pull it off, you want to make sure you unplug that little connector right there. Right there. Otherwise you'll be tugging on it and you might rip the wires apart, but you'll feel it when you start to take it off. So yeah. So the next thing I removed was this little center bezel console thing. And there's 1, 2, and then 3 screws to take that off, and that should slide out. And I guess so. There should be a connector right there. I don't have mine connected because I don't have the smoking or whatever you want to call that cigarette lighter in there. I'll take that off. That's that. And then you should be left with something similar to this. There we go. Something similar to this. And the next thing I'm going to do is unscrew all 4 of these, take that out, and pull out my radio. So once you disconnect, or once you take out these 4 screws, on the flip side of this, you got 1, 2, 3 connectors that need to be removed to pull this out. Alright, so after you've done all that, you should end up with something that looks like this in your S14. So we got the armrest out of the way. You got the shifter boot out of the way, and the center console out of the way. Next we're going to move to the driver's side and start removing the gauges. So on the driver's side there are 2 screws on top of the gauge cluster, or bezel, whatever you want to call it, cover. They have to come out. And then basically you can pop this out from the bottom. You just kind of want to be careful with it. You just kind of raise this up and pull it out. Just be careful. Then once you get this out, well, at least get this top part out, you'll see 2 connectors that have to come out. One right there and one right there. And once you unplug that, this should slip right out pretty easily. I would recommend dropping the steering, I don't know what you want to call it, angle, this little lever over here. That way you have more play. But there's that part. Alright, so now we're at removing the cluster, and there's 1, 2, and 3 screws you'll have to undo. Then you can kind of pull it off to the side right here, and you can kind of see the back. And you got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And when you're taking these out, oops, be careful because it's like a dual thing you gotta compress to take them out. It's not just this top one, it's this top one and this bottom one for all of them. So you have to push those two together and pull them out. So be careful, and also be careful with the back side of this so that you don't mess anything up. Alright, so now that that's out, it's on to the next step. Alright, so I'm not sure if this is it or not, but there's a bolt right there that's got to come out. It's a 10 millimeter. And then there's also another one right there that's got to come out. That's 10 millimeter. So I'm not sure if those have to come out or not, but I'm going to take them out for good measure. So the next thing I had to pull out was this door seal right here. This one right here. And then I had to take out this little fuse panel cover. And to do that, there's one 10 millimeter bolt. Well, it's not really a bolt, it's more like a, it should be hand tight, but it's plastic. And you take that out, and you should be able to, this part kind of slides out the back, and then there's two clips right there that you got to pull out. So after that's out, that should expose, after that's out, that should expose that 10 millimeter nut bolt right there that's got to come out, and then we'll go on to the next step. Alright, so back on the passenger side, there's one bolt right here, 10 millimeter bolt that needs to come off right there. Already taking it out. That one right there. That one right there needs to come out. And then on the passenger side, oops, you pull this little vent cover off. Literally just pulls right out. And that'll show you another bolt that's right there that you got to take out, 10 millimeter. So that one right there. The next thing I did was remove the glove box. And if the glove box is installed and you're inside the car, you look underneath of it. There's one, and then there's two bolts that have to come out, nuts, screws, whatever you want to call them. And then there's these two arms that hold the glove box in. You just kind of tilt it to one side, move it out, and pull it out. So there's the glove box removed. So the next thing that I did was on the driver's side, underneath the steering wheel, this little plastic cover, there are two screws, one and two on the bottom. And once you get those out, you can kind of pull this down and take it out. So I did that next. Next thing I took out was this metal cover collar thing. I don't know, it sits underneath the steering column. And there's two bolts to take it out, two 10 millimeter bolts, and falls right out. So I did that. Alright, so now the dash is removed, and there are a few bolts that I didn't get to show you guys, but I'm going to go over them right now. The first two are right here if the dash were still in the car. There's one 10 millimeter bolt right here that needs to come out, and one right there that needs to come out. Then there's a screw right here that has to come out. And I'll show you on the dash in just a second. And also I found that it was easier to take the dash out when this little A-pillar bracket, little plastic cover, whatever you want to call it, thing wasn't there. So I took those out. And I did drop the steering column. There are two bolts right here. One right there and one right there. They are 12 millimeter bolts. Then you drop the steering column. Trying to think. Is there anything else that I missed? Well, let's go over to the dash. Alright, so here's the dash. And it was really hard for me to do this without breaking it, so just be ready or be careful. But there's that one 10 millimeter bolt on the very top of the dash. And it sits underneath this little defrost bezel cover, I guess you want to call it. Mine was really flimsy and it ended up breaking. But pretty much you need a really long screwdriver just to kind of lift up this edge. That should get you access to this bolt. And you do the same thing on this side. You lift up this edge right here. Whoops. Lift up this edge right here, and that should get you access to that bolt. So you don't actually have to remove it, which is what I thought you had to do, which is why I broke mine, or how I broke mine. But as long as you can lift it up just a hair to get to that bolt and get those bolts out, you'll be good. And trying to think. There's two bolts right here that you had to take out. One right there and one right there. Pretty sure I showed you all. Oh, and right here on this little lever to open up the hood, there are two 10mm bolts that need to come out to slide that out of the way. And then there's one 10mm bolt right there. So that's pretty much removing the dash. So now I'm just going to start on the heater core. That's when the real fun starts. I missed a lot of footage just because I basically had no idea what I was doing, so I was just kind of feeling around. But eventually I ended up getting to where I needed to get to. But to get to the heater core, at least from what I found out and what I figured out and done, is I had to remove both these components for the AC, which was a bit of a pain to figure out, but it can be done. This one right here wasn't too hard. It just has to be disconnected from the firewall from your AC lines. This one right here, I guess this blower motor was a bit of a pain to get out. But there was only 3 bolts holding it on, I believe. There's one. That's one's on the bottom. Then 2 and 3. Then you just disconnect whatever. Let's see, where's the harness at? There was a harness up here somewhere, right there. That harness right there. And your airbag lines are connected on here too. So just disconnect all that good stuff, and it should fall right out. And this one, like I said, you just pull it out from the firewall. It pretty much drops out. Alright, so I did not end up taking the actual heater core out. I only replaced that nipple that was broken. So I guess it saved the steps. I honestly don't know how. I mean, I guess I could figure out the rest of the way, but I can't explain to you all how to remove the heater core since I didn't actually do the whole job. I just replaced that little nipple. But that's really all I needed to do. So now I'm just going to install in reverse order. I'll try to record as much as I can. The reason why I missed a big chunk of it was not because my battery was dying, it's because I actually ran out of memory on my phone, so I had to go out and delete some stuff. But yep, so I got the nipple in for the heater core, so now I'll be able to have my heat. Not yet, but I'll be able to set it up, and I'll go on I'll go outside the car and show you what it looks like. There it is. There is the new nipple right there, the one that was broken before. That one right there. So now I'll be able to have my coolant lines run to that, and I'll have heat. So I won't be freezing my butt off in the wintertime anymore, because it's getting pretty cold. So now all I gotta do is put all of this back together in here. So yeah, stay tuned for that. But before I do that, there was a whole bunch of leaves and stuff, and I was wondering why some of the bolts were missing. Looks like someone's did this job before, because I found a wrench inside of this little box, or that one, I can't remember which one it fell out of, but someone's been in there before and they forgot their wrench. And it's a 14mm wrench, so I'll hold on to that because it's a pretty common Nissan size. But yeah, man, that was a pretty big job. It wasn't all that hard, but it's just my first time doing it, so maybe it was a little harder than I thought it was going to be. But the job is done. Now I just got to put all this back together, and I'll do my best to try to record all that, but I don't know if I'll be able to. So I just got finished cleaning out those AC components and all this crud right here. This stuff from the this wrench, these leaves, and all these leaves and stuff over here is everything that I blew out of here. So 20 some odd years of stuff. But time to start putting everything back together, and I'm going to start with this guy.